There's a harsh truth that no one will ever say to your face. A woman's past is not just a collection of stories. It's a series of psychological imprints, as Carl Jung called them, that shape her present and your potential future. We've gotten used to ignoring the warning signs, writing them off as a complicated personality or modern values. But what if these signs aren't random? What if they are clear markers pointing to deeply ingrained behavioral patterns, to the very shadow she hides even from herself? Today, we're going to break down 7 hidden signs of a woman whose intimate history is too extensive to build anything real with. And make sure you watch until the end, because the 7th sign isn't just a red flag. It's practical proof you can verify for yourself, and it will save you years of your life. We live in a world where it's fashionable to talk about freedom and being non-judgmental. But psychology is a precise science, and it confirms that every significant experience, especially in intimate relationships, leaves a mark on our soul. Jung said that we all wear a persona, a social mask we show to the world. It can be charming, confident, free, and open. But behind this mask always lies the shadow, the repressed, unconscious part of the personality, where all traumas, disappointments, and learned behaviors accumulate. And the more superficial connections a woman has had, the more her shadow has learned to defend, manipulate, and survive, rather than to love and trust. Understanding how a woman's past affects a relationship isn't about judgment. It's about diagnosis, so you don't end up as a patient in someone else's drama. Sign 1, the illusion of intimacy. Comfort as a warning sign, the first sign, is a masterful trap that 9 out of 10 men fall into, mistaking a red flag for a green light. She seems incredibly open and confident when it comes to intimacy. She discusses the physical aspects of a relationship with an ease that is, at first, disarming and even impressive. You think, here she is, a modern woman, free of complexes, who knows what she wants. But as Jung would say, we must look not at the persona, the mask shown to the world, but at what lies behind it. And what's hiding here is a disturbing paradox. This ease is not a sign of healthy confidence. It's a symptom of the complete absence of the natural emotional barriers that should exist at the start of any healthy relationship. A healthy female psyche instinctively protects its vulnerability. A little shyness, a gradual warming up, a bit of awkwardness, these aren't outdated concepts. They are functioning psychological safeguards that protect the sacred process of two people growing closer. They signal that what is happening is important and valuable. But when a woman handles the topic of intimacy like a seasoned soldier who has seen dozens of battles, without the slightest sense of reverence, it indicates that the attachment mechanism itself has been damaged. Her boundaries have been crossed so many times that they've simply been eroded, devalued, and turned to dust. She can discuss intimate details with the detachment of a surgeon because, for her, it has ceased to be a sacred act and has become mere physiology, a routine, an almost mechanical process. You'll notice this not just in her words, but in her actions. She knows male psychology in romantic situations far too well. Her moves, her reactions, her lines, it all feels too familiar, too polished. There's no natural buildup of tension, no vulnerability, no sense that this moment means something to her. Everything feels mechanical and rehearsed. It's like watching a professional actor's performance, technically flawless, but soulless. Most men, blinded by this confidence, think they've hit the jackpot. In reality, they're dealing with the fallout from a long line of previous audience members. This ease isn't a gift. It's a symptom indicating that for her, this isn't the beginning of something unique, but just a repeat of a well-rehearsed script. By the way, if you appreciate these kinds of deep psychological breakdowns, just let us know with a like and a subscription. It's one click for you, but for the YouTube algorithm, It's a powerful signal to show this video to more people who are searching for answers. Thanks for helping us grow. Before we begin, just for our statistics, which sign that you've heard of before seems the most obvious to you? Write the number in the comments. It'll be interesting to compare. SIGN2, the glass wall emotional unavailability. If the first sign was about her external behavior, the second is about delving into her inner fortress, where entry is strictly forbidden. This is the most agonizing sign for a man seeking real depth. A woman with many past partners often develops highly complex emotional defense mechanisms, making true connection almost impossible. She can be physically present, participate in conversations, laugh at your jokes, and even be in a relationship with you, but there will always be a part of her you can't reach. She looks at you as if through invisible glass. You see her, she sees you, but you can never truly feel each other. This isn't shyness that fades over time. It's not a temporary wall she puts up after a hard day. It is a fundamental inability to let another person fully into her inner world. This pattern reveals itself in how she talks about feelings, or more accurately, how she avoids them. All conversations remain on the surface. She won't share her deepest fears, the childhood experiences that shaped her, or the vulnerabilities that could create a true emotional bond between you. Any attempt you make to dig deeper is met with a swift change of subject, a joke, or a beautifully crafted but utterly empty, rehearsed phrase. You share something intimate with her, and in return, you get an appropriate but shallow comment. She cannot match your emotional depth because she has learned to pour concrete over the access to her own. This emotional wall is especially noticeable in conflicts. Instead of working through a problem together, she either shuts down completely, retreating into an icy silence, or explodes and suggests ending things. She hasn't developed the emotional tools for relationship repair and maintenance because her primary pattern is to exit, not to resolve. Each repeated cycle of closeness and separation in her past taught her one thing: deep emotional investment inevitably leads to pain. And now her psyche simply won't allow her to bet on one person. You will always feel like you're dating a beautiful but empty vessel, while her true self remains safely hidden behind that glass wall. But if the emotional wall is a passive defense, the next sign is an active strategy for keeping a man's attention. And it works flawlessly. Sign 3, the orbit of attention. A collection of friends. The third sign strikes at the very foundation of a man's trust and is related to her social circle. A woman with a large number of past partners almost always maintains an unusually large network of male contacts. These aren't just acquaintances or colleagues. It's a whole harem of exes, potential suitors, and men who are clearly interested in more than just friendship. Her phone is constantly buzzing with messages and calls. Her social media is a parade of male attention. When you ask who all these people are, she dismisses it with disarming ease. Oh, they're just friends. But let's be honest. This isn't friendship. It's an orbit of attention. These are emotional and communication threads she maintains with dozens of men simultaneously. Many of them are her former intimate partners, with whom she keeps in touch as if leaving the door slightly ajar. This isn't about maturity or being able to stay friends. From a Jungian perspective, this is about maintaining a vast network of male approval. Her self-esteem has become dependent on constant validation of her attractiveness from multiple sources. She's like an energy vampire who needs not one, but several streams of attention to feel valuable and secure. And here's what most men don't understand, or are afraid to admit. These friends are her backup plans. She maintains these connections so that if your relationship hits a rough patch, she has ready-made options. This isn't a conscious, cunning plan. It's a deeply ingrained, subconscious insurance mechanism developed over years of experience. She finds it critically difficult to set clear boundaries. Men who are obviously interested in her will continue to hover, receiving mixed signals and encouragement from her. She enjoys the attention too much to cut off its sources, even if it undermines the trust in your relationship. Her emotional energy isn't focused on you. It's scattered among dozens of contacts. She cannot fully invest in building something deep with one man because her psyche demands constant fuel from an entire entourage of admirers. SIGN4. Intimacy as currency and a doubly epon. Now we've arrived at the most cynical and manipulative behavioral pattern, one that will absolutely blow your mind. She has learned to use physical intimacy not as an expression of genuine affection, but as a tool, as currency to get what she wants, and as a weapon for control. Women with numerous partners often unconsciously develop a transactional relationship with their own intimacy. They have learned through practice that it is the most powerful lever to influence a man, and they have turned what should be sacred into a calculated strategy. You will see this in specific situations. She might withhold physical affection when she's upset, not because she isn't in the mood, but because she knows from experience that it's the fastest way to make you apologize and give in. Conversely, she might suddenly initiate intimacy when she needs something, an expensive purchase, a favor, your forgiveness for her mistake. The timing is always too perfect to be a coincidence. There's a calculative nature to her behavior. It seems she knows exactly when to get close and when to pull away to keep you in a state of emotional starvation and constantly chasing her. Approval. This isn't natural female intuition. It's a manipulation technique learned through bitter experience. By going through numerous relationships, she has empirically determined that her attractiveness is the most powerful tool for getting what she wants from men. And she has turned it into a weapon. The psychological reality is this: when intimacy becomes a tool rather than an act of two souls connecting, a genuine bond becomes impossible. She can no longer separate the strategic use of affection from sincere expressions of feeling because, in her mind, the two have become permanently intertwined. Therefore, even in the most seemingly sincere moments, a nagging doubt will haunt you. Is this real? Or is this just another move to gain control? We're exactly halfway through. If you've already recognized at least one familiar scenario and you're curious to see how it all ends, just put a plus in the comments. It'll be our little secret sign. Think intimacy as a weapon is the height of cynicism? Oh no. Next, we'll talk about how she masterfully plays on the most delicate strings of a man's soul to get what she wants. Sign 5, Surgeon of the Male Soul. The art of if using intimacy as currency is a crude, almost barbaric tactic, and the 5th sign is the pinnacle of skill, a work of neurosurgery on the male ego and soul. She possesses such a sophisticated, almost academic understanding of male psychology that she can manipulate your emotions with a frightening, almost supernatural precision. She knows exactly what to say to make you feel like the strongest, most needed, most special man on the planet. But her compliments and words of admiration sound too perfect. They hit the mark too accurately. This isn't a sincere impulse from the soul. It's the calculated shot of a sniper, the result of years of practice in her personal relationship laboratory. As Jung said, our task is not to become perfect, but to become whole. But she isn't striving for wholeness. She's striving for perfection in her performance, in honing her mask. She has an incredibly fine-tuned sense of male insecurities and masterfully knows how to play on them. Imagine this. You share your ambitions with her, and she looks at you with such admiration and says, "I always knew you were different." You have a vision that other men are afraid of. She finds the exact string that controls your self-esteem and plays it like a virtuoso. A week later, during a minor argument, she might casually remark, "Sometimes I feel like you're afraid to take real risks." The blow lands in the exact same spot. This cycle of heat up, cool down, praise, then devalue keeps you in a constant state of emotional tension and total dependence. Like a roller coaster where fear and euphoria alternate so quickly that you lose your grip on reality. Her ability to predict your reactions seems like magic, but it's just experience, honed on dozens of predecessors. Like a brilliant chess player, she is always 3 moves ahead. She might provoke a little jealousy by innocently mentioning how a friend helped her with something you didn't have time to do. She doesn't do it to leave you for him, but to make you compete for her attention even harder. She uses her feminine energy not as a gift, but as a scalpel. Her sudden vulnerability, her pleas for protection, her admiration for your strength, it all might be nothing more than an act, a carefully crafted persona designed to elicit a specific reaction from you. A woman who knows how to get through to any man didn't learn it from books. She learned it through practice, turning numerous relationships into a training ground for her manipulative techniques. You think you're building a unique connection, but in reality, you're just responding to carefully prepared stimuli. The relationship feels exciting, but it's empty because it's built not on a genuine bond, but on the masterful management of your emotions. She has learned to play on your weaknesses. But the next sign shows that she treats not only you this way, but also herself, her own past. And that is a diagnosis. SIGN6, pride instead of regret, a diagnosis of the PSD the sixth. Sign is a fundamental split in her value system that renders any conversation about the future meaningless. It's about her complete, defiant lack of natural shame or even delicacy regarding her turbulent romantic history. Consumer society tells us that shame is bad, but from a psychological perspective, healthy selectivity and a reverent attitude toward intimate experience are normal. It's a sign that a person values exclusivity and depth in a connection. In her case, this mechanism isn't just absent, it's turned inside out. She talks about her ex-partners and experiences with such ease, even bravado, as if she were discussing books she's read or movies she's seen in psychology. There's a defense mechanism called reaction formation. This is when a person, in order to hide an unacceptable feeling from themselves and others, like deeply buried shame or trauma, begins to display the exact opposite, exaggerated reaction. And this pride in her past is a prime example. It isn't real pride. It's armor forged from the fear of facing the truth. She isn't just unashamed. She might even defiantly declare, "Yes, I have experience, and I'm not going to apologize for it. It made me who I am." And in that moment, she masterfully seizes the initiative. Any question from you, no matter how delicate, will be met with a barrage of accusations of insecurity, jealousy, patriarchal views, and outdated beliefs. She uses modern rhetoric about freedom as a weapon to disarm you and make you doubt your own right to have. Standards. Imagine you're considering a candidate for a financial partnership, and he proudly tells you about his 10 previous bankruptcies, calling it rich risk management experience. Would you trust him with your money? So why are you willing to trust your time, your soul, and your future to a person who demonstrates the exact same attitude toward her emotional capital? This creates not just a misunderstanding, but a chasm between your worldviews. She genuinely doesn't understand why loyalty and exclusivity are important to you. In her frame of reference, partners are interchangeable. She can't grasp what you're looking for because she has never sought or experienced a connection where physical and emotional intimacy are reserved for one special person. You are trying to build a stone castle while she is used to living in a house of cards. And this mismatch is not something that can be fixed with love. It is a fundamental diagnosis of her approach to life. She isn't ashamed of her past. But how does this manifest in practice? The final 7th sign. is the most irrefutable proof in her resume. It's something you can verify with facts. Sign 7. The relationship conveyor belt, the eternal. Search for unavailability. Why? And now we come to the final, most objective and irrefutable sign. This isn't speculation or psychology. This is the cold, hard statistic of her life, her personal resume that she can't fake. Her history shows a stable, recurring pattern of short, intense, but fleeting relationships. Her romantic biography is a conveyor belt where faces and settings change quickly. But the ending is always the same. A swift breakup and an immediate move on to the next project. She might describe this as a series of mismatches or mutual decisions, but behind these words lies her total inability to maintain long-term emotional investment in one person. In psychology, this is called novelty seeking. Her brain is likely addicted to the dopamine rush that comes with the initial stage of a relationship, the chase, the passion, the newness. But when this natural drug wears off and it's time to build a deeper connection based on oxytocin and attachment, which requires work, patience, and compromise, she gets bored. She starts to feel restless, irritated, and subconsciously looks for an excuse to destroy what exists and go searching for another hit. She always has a ready explanation for why each of her previous relationships ended, and in these explanations, she always portrays herself as a victim of circumstances. She will never admit that the only common denominator in all these stories was her. She is the eternal girl, puella eterna in Jungian terms, refusing to grow up and take responsibility for her choices. If her history lacks a single example of a relationship that lasted longer than the conventional honeymoon period, say a year or two, it isn't bad luck. It's a pattern. Check the facts. Ask simple questions about the duration of her previous connections. You will see a repeating cycle. The first few months are idealization and intense passion. Then, at the first sign of trouble, devaluation begins. She starts noticing flaws in you that once seemed endearing. She becomes cold, looks for conflicts. And then comes the end, a cold breakup with the line, "We're just too different," or "I don't deserve you." She is addicted not to love, but to the adrenaline of the chase. She is like a tourist who loves watching movie trailers, but never finishes a single film. She may sincerely say she wants a family, but her actions scream the opposite. She simply doesn't have the emotional tools to build for the long term because she has spent her whole life as a sprinter, not a marathon runner. Conclusion: integrating the shadow, how to make the right. CHOIC recognizing these 7 signs is not a reason for hatred or judgment. It is a reason for sober analysis and, most importantly, for deep self-discovery. Carl Jung argued that the goal of life is to integrate the shadow, that is, to become aware of and accept our repressed, darker sides. The irony is that in trying to figure her out, a man gets a unique chance to figure himself out. Before rushing to save or fix her, he must ask himself the most important question: why am I drawn to this chaos? Why does my soul respond to this drama? Often, the answer lies in his own shadow, in his unintegrated feminine side, the anima. Perhaps he is drawn by a savior complex, a subconscious desire to heal her, to symbolically heal something within himself. Or, conversely, he is attracted to her apparent strength and freedom because he lacks those qualities himself. Experience changes people. An extensive, chaotic, intimate experience changes a woman, rewiring her approach to intimacy, trust, and commitment. To ignore these changes is to voluntarily sign up for the role of another exhibit in her collection, an extra in her endless play. You deserve a woman who values exclusivity, who has the emotional tools to build a long-term relationship, who sees your connection as something unique and sacred, not just another episode. To lower your standards for someone whose past screams of an inability to give you what you seek is a betrayal of yourself. It's like in business. You wouldn't invest all your assets in a company with a terrible credit history and a series of failed projects. So why are you willing to do that with your life? And now for the most important question I want to ask you. When faced with signs like these, what did you feel more often? The desire to save and fix the person, or an instinctive repulsion and the urge to run? Now, press pause and write your honest answer in the comments. This isn't for me, it's for you to acknowledge your first true reaction. That reaction is the voice of your intuition, your true self, unobscured by illusions and hopes. Remember, a high-value man who is aware of his goals deserves a high-value woman who can match his commitment and emotional depth. Choosing a partner is the most important decision you will ever make. It determines your peace of mind, your financial well-being, and your legacy. Don't settle for less. Make a conscious choice for your future, not for someone else's complicated past.